The download info problem is your first exposure to an FRQ, which is a free response problem, which is going to be half of your points that you're able to earn on the exam, the AP exam. And the first time you look at an FRQ, you're going to see a wall of text, and it's going to be all encoded. So usually you're looking at it dumbfounded, not able to extract the information that you need. We're going to be going over like 30 to 40 of them and coding them and testing them. So you should become more and more familiar with the setup, the format, and how to extract the information that you need. And what you're going to find is that a lot of the problems can be categorized into array list problems or basics problems or array problems or classes and objects problems, and they all have the same type of format. Okay, they all solve the same types of problems. So in this download info problem, what they do is they give you two classes. They give you the download info class and they give you the music downloads class. Not only that, but they tell you what the instance variables are. For example, for download info, we have a title and we also have a number of times downloaded. So you see here in my sketchpad, I have download info class. Instance variables are title and number of times downloaded. Right? They also tell us that we have a couple of methods. We have the constructor, of course, and then we have getTitle, which is a getter for title, and we also have increment times downloaded. All right, so I listed them here. GetTitle is the getter. Increment times downloaded is here. Right, so we have these two methods that are talked about in the description. And then if we scroll down, they also give us another class. They give us music downloads, and in music downloads, the only instance variable that they talk to us about is the list of download info objects called download list. And so I have that here. My list of download info objects is my instance variable, and I have my two methods. Of course, I have a constructor, but more importantly, we have a get download info method that takes in a title and returns a download info object. We have a description above it, right? And the next one we have is update downloads, which takes in a list of titles in type string and returns nothing. The description is here above it. Right? The first thing you want to do when you're faced with an FRQ is to quickly go over the classes that they give you, the instance variables of each class, and the methods of each class like I did here. Once you do that, you want to try to make sense of it, because every FRQ is going to make sense. It's going to be logical, and it's going to solve a problem. Okay, it's not going to be just random. All right, so once you do that, then you want to come back to the FRQ and look at the details. Look at the description of each class and see, is there any more information I need in order to code this exactly the way that they want me to. All right. But usually, once you make sense of the problem, you're able to go ahead and code it and receive full credit. So let's go ahead and make sense of the program. All right. We have this download info object, right? And then we have a music downloads class. The music downloads class has a list of download info objects, which are titles and number of times downloaded. So this is an example of composition where you have objects of one class contain as instance variables objects of another class. Composition. So here we have our music download object, let's say, and in the music download object we have a list of download info objects. So let's say that's the first one. Here's my second one. Here's my third one, and let's just say there's 4 of them in the list. Of course, the list is expandable, so it can contain as many as you want. And what do the download infos objects contain? They contain a title and a number of times downloaded. So let's say the title of this one was A, and the number of times it was downloaded was 3 times. Let's say the title of the second one is B, and the number of times downloaded was 4 times. C is the name of the third one, and D is the name of the fourth one. Let's say this one was downloaded 17 times, and this one downloaded 107 times. Right. So what we have here is a simulation, essentially, of a Spotify music application. right? These are the different songs that are available on the Spotify app, and every time somebody downloads one, the object in the list gets incremented. Well, his number of times downloaded gets incremented, and then we can assume that at the end of the month, the artist is paid based on the number of times the song was downloaded, right? So this guy would get paid more than the one who wrote song A. All right. So now what does that mean? Well, what about this get title method? What does that do? Well, obviously it gets the title. It's a getter, right? Not much to it there. It's not a brain method. It's just a getter. And then we have the increment times downloaded, right? What does that do? Well, if I take this object, right, and then I run increment times downloaded on that object, well, then the number of times downloaded is going to change from 3 to 4. Right? And then if I go ahead and run increment times downloaded on this object, then the number of times downloaded is going to change from 17 to 18. All right. So essentially, what happens is every time a song's downloaded, we run increment times downloaded so that we can keep track of how many times the song's been downloaded, and then eventually the artist can get paid however much he needs to get paid. Okay. Let's move on to the music downloads methods. Right? What do we have? We have get download info. So what does that need? It needs a title. And what does it return? Well, over here we could see that the get download info is right here. And in the signature, we can see that it returns a download info object. All right. So how does that make sense? It makes sense because we pass in the title and it returns the download info object. For example, if we ran it on this music download object here, and we gave it the title D, right? What would it do? It would look here and say, hey, is this object's title D? No, it's A. Is this object title D? No, it's B. Is this object's title D? No, it's C. Hey, is this one D? Yes, it is D. It matches. So what is the method going to do? It's going to take this object and it's going to return it. All right. Assumably to run increment times on it, so that increment times downloaded on it, so that we can change it from 107 to 108. Right. All right. Now, what does update downloads do? This is the tricky part. What does update downloads do? It takes in a list, so an array list of titles of string data, right? So a list of titles, and if you go ahead and read the description here, right, what it does is, let's say it was given a list of titles C, B, and D, right? Well, what should update downloads do? It should go through its list of download info objects, looking for objects whose title is C. It's going to look here. No, it's not C. No, it's not C. No, yes, it is C. So since it is C, what should it do? It should run increment times downloaded so that 17 increments to 18. Then what is it going to do? It's going to go to the next title in the list, and it's going to look for it in the instance variable get download info, right? It's going to look here. Is A B? No. It's going to look here. Hey, is B B? Yes, it is B B. So what is it going to do? It's going to run increment times downloaded on it, and 4 is going to turn to 5. Then it's going to do the same thing with D. It's not going to find it here, not going to find it there, not going to find it there. It does find it here. So it's going to change. It's going to increment times downloaded from 107 to 108. All right. But what if the title is not there? So let's say we had a title A, B, C, D, E, right? Well, it would look here, A, no, B, no, C, no, D, no. And it finished looking through the entire list. So what is it going to do? Well, in that case, it's going to create another download info object whose title is E and whose number of times downloaded is initialized to 1. Right? So that's what update downloads does. And if you go ahead and read the description here, which is above the signature, you'll see that that's what it describes. If you look at get download info and you read the description above the signature, you'll see that's what it describes, and so on as you work your way through the text. All right. And so what is the problem asking you to do? Well, it asks you to define one of the methods, either the constructor of the class, or increment times downloaded, or get download info, or update download info. right? And so that's what you need to do. Like for instance, here with A, it's saying write the method get download info. So that's what we need to do right here. We got to write this guy. We got to define him so that it works properly. And then what about for part B? What is that asking you to do? It's write the update downloads method. Which one's that one? That's this one right here that we just talked about. So you got to write that one. Okay, and you should read this description because it usually puts some constraints, and I believe the constraint on this problem is saying that yes, define update downloads, but you must use get download info. You must use this method here in this method here, or else you won't get full credit. All right, so you want to go ahead and read the description so that you can code it the way that they want you to code it so you can receive full credit.